In the not-too-distant future, the world had become a place where stress was not just a daily inconvenience but a constant companion for almost everyone. Work pressures, family struggles, and the unending chase for personal success had taken a toll on the global population. People were tired physically and mentally. It seemed like there was no way to escape the pressure that weighed on every person's shoulders. But then humanity found an answer from the stars. Aliens, peaceful and advanced, had arrived with a gift. They offered humanity a program designed to relieve stress in the most efficient way possible. These alien creatures, known as the Ashari, were sent to Earth to assist humanity in overcoming mental health issues. They weren't just visitors, they were a solution. The Ashari had developed a special kind of being, a stress relief companion, a genetically engineered creature designed specifically to alleviate the mental and emotional burdens that had become so overwhelming for the people of Earth. Each citizen was assigned one of these companions, who would stay with them, monitor their emotional state, and use alien techniques to help them relax, calm down, and ultimately lead a more peaceful life. The program was simple. Each person would receive one stress relief alien, undergo a brief training on how to work with them, and then the creatures would do their job, helping to keep humans calm and collected in a world that had long forgotten what it meant to truly relax. Elliot, a man in his late 20s, was one of the many people who had signed up for the program. He was an office worker, one of those people who sat at a desk all day, buried under piles of paperwork, emails, and reports. He wasn't what anyone would call a workaholic, but the stress of trying to keep up with deadlines, manage office politics, and balance personal life had drained him. For weeks, he had barely gotten any sleep. His mind raced with worries, and his body felt tight with the weight of responsibility. When he first heard about the alien stress relief program, he wasn't sure what to think. Part of him was curious, but the other part, the skeptical part, wondered how something like this could possibly work. Still, the idea of having a personal companion to help him de-stress seemed like it couldn't hurt. Elliot signed up, filled out the forms, and within a week, he was scheduled for his first meeting with his assigned stress relief alien. He was told to be ready at exactly 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, and when the time came, he found himself waiting in his small, cluttered apartment, wondering what to expect. At exactly 9 a.m., a soft chime echoed through the room. Elliot jumped, startled by the sudden sound. The door to his apartment slid open automatically, revealing a shimmering figure floating in the doorway. It was an alien, of course, but unlike anything he had imagined. It wasn't large or intimidating. It was small, translucent, and glowed softly in the dim light of his apartment. The alien's shape was fluid, almost liquid, with long tendrils that drifted lazily through the air. It didn't have a face per se, but its body seemed to communicate a sense of calm, serenity, and empathy. Its bioluminescent tendrils changed color slowly, shifting from soft blues to calming purples and whites. "Greetings, Elliot," the alien's voice reverberated in his mind, soothing and warm like a gentle breeze on a summer day. It was not a spoken voice, but one that seemed to come from within his head, clear and direct. "I am Krillak, your stress relief companion. I will assist you in managing your emotional and mental well-being." Elliot blinked in surprise. The voice was soft, but it was also commanding in its calmness. It was a voice that immediately made him feel at ease, even though the idea of an alien in his apartment was surreal. Hi," Elliot said, feeling awkward as he looked at Krillak. "So you're here to help me relax?" "Yes," Krillak responded, its voice unwavering. "I am here to help you release your stress, clear your mind, and guide you toward relaxation. Are you ready?" Elliot nodded, though he wasn't entirely sure what to expect. He had heard stories of people who had been assigned their aliens and had relaxed almost immediately, as if the stress had simply melted away. He had hoped for something like that. But as Krillak moved forward, Elliot felt a sense of calm, though he couldn't quite shake the oddness of the situation. Over the next hour, Krillak guided him through various relaxation techniques, but not the ones Elliot had been expecting. Instead of traditional breathing exercises or meditation, the alien focused on something completely unexpected, emotionally engaging actions. Krillak gently urged Elliot to rearrange his apartment, to move his furniture in ways that seemed illogical at first. At first, he didn't understand it. Why move the couch to the center of the room? Why take down his posters and rearrange them in odd patterns? But as Elliot followed Krillak's instructions, something began to shift inside him. He noticed that as he moved the furniture, as he followed Krillak's peculiar suggestions, he began to let go of the tension he hadn't even realized he was holding. It wasn't about the furniture at all. It was about taking control of his environment in an unexpected way, breaking free from the rigid, structured life he had been living. He felt a strange freedom in these small, seemingly pointless actions. "What's happening?" Elliot asked, confused but intrigued. "Is this supposed to help me relax?" Krillak's glowing tendrils shifted to a calm, soothing blue. "Stress is not just in the body, it is also in the mind. You have become so accustomed to routine, to predictability, that your mind has built up walls around it. These walls create stress. By disrupting the predictable, you free your mind, even if only for a short time." Elliot couldn't deny it. As he looked around at the changed room, something inside him felt lighter. It wasn't the perfect solution, but there was a sense of change, of novelty that he hadn't experienced in ages. The tension in his shoulders eased a little, and he even felt a little more open-minded about the alien's methods. "This is just the beginning," Krillak said. "Your mind is capable of much more than you realize. I will continue to guide you, and soon, you will learn to release your stress fully." Elliot wasn't sure what to make of the alien's words, but for the first time in a long while, he felt hopeful. Maybe there was something to this whole alien program after all. As Krillak left his apartment, Elliot sat down on his newly arranged couch, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over him. It wasn't the complete relaxation he had hoped for, but it was a start. And as the days passed, he found himself wondering what other techniques Krillak would use. Would it always be this strange, this unconventional, or would it eventually feel normal? Only time would tell. The days following Elliot's first session with Krillak were filled with unexpected changes. At first, he thought it was just a fluke, the rearranging of his furniture, the strange sense of calm that washed over him. But as he continued to follow Krillak's guidance, he began to notice a pattern. Every time he felt the weight of stress bearing down on him, Krillak was there, ready with another unconventional technique. Elliot's coworkers had all received their own stress relief aliens, and he had heard stories of their experiences. Most of them spoke about how their aliens would guide them through breathing exercises or soft meditations, helping them to calm down after a long day. But Elliot's experience was nothing like that. Krillak was different. The next time Krillak appeared, Elliot had just finished a long meeting that had left him feeling drained. He was back in his apartment, sitting at his desk, feeling the familiar weight of exhaustion settling in. When Krillak arrived, it didn't waste any time. Instead of asking Elliot to relax or breathe deeply, the alien floated toward him and gently nudged his desk chair. Without a word, Elliot stood up and followed Krillak's lead. "Let's go outside," Krillak's voice echoed in his mind, calm and soothing but also strangely insistent. Elliot was confused. "Go outside, but I'm in the middle of work. There's so much to do." Krillak's soft blue tendrils pulsed gently in response. "Sometimes the mind cannot relax until the body is freed from the confines of its routine. Trust me." Reluctantly, Elliot grabbed his coat, wondering what this would accomplish. It wasn't like he had any more time to spare. But he followed Krillak down the stairs of his apartment building and out onto the street. The cool air hit his face, but the tension in his body immediately started to ease. Krillek guided him down the block, past familiar shops and streets, but Elliot couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't normal. It wasn't what everyone else's aliens were doing. As they walked, Krillek asked him to observe the world around him, really see it. Notice the details, the way the light falls on the pavement, the movement of the clouds, the rhythm of the people walking by, the alien's voice urged. Elliot did as he was told, though it felt a little odd. He had never really paid attention to these things before. But as he walked through the neighborhood, he began to notice things he hadn't before. The soft rustle of leaves in the trees, the way the wind shifted the shadows on the sidewalk, the tiny flowers blooming in unexpected places. It was as if he were seeing the world for the first time. He felt a sense of calm settle over him. The stress of work, the deadlines, the responsibilities, it all seemed so far away. For a brief moment, he felt a kind of freedom, as if the weight on his shoulders had been lifted. "This," Elliot said, finally speaking aloud, "this feels nice." "Good," Krillek responded, "but we are not finished. There is more for you to experience." They continued their walk, and Elliot noticed something strange. Krillek was guiding him toward places he had never considered before. Instead of the usual routes he took, Krillek led him to small, hidden spots, a quiet park bench in an alley, a rooftop garden, and even a small art gallery he had walked past hundreds of times without ever thinking to enter. Krillek seemed to know where to take him, always finding new, unusual places that Elliot had never noticed before. It was as if the alien had mapped out a secret world that existed just beyond his everyday routines. By the time they returned to his apartment, Elliot felt like a new person. The stress that had once clung to him was now a distant memory. He was tired, but it was the kind of tired that came from a day well spent, not the kind of exhaustion that came from overwork. The next few days passed in much the same way. Krillek continued to guide Elliot through strange, unconventional methods, and Elliot continued to follow along, feeling more and more relaxed with each passing day. But as time went on, Elliot began to feel a growing sense of unease. It wasn't that he didn't appreciate the way Krillek helped him. In fact, he had never felt so relaxed and at peace in his entire life. But there was something about Krillek's methods that felt wrong. It wasn't just the strange ways in which it guided him. It was the feeling that Krillek was pushing him to break free from his routines in ways that went beyond relaxation. One evening, after another strange walk through the city, Elliot found himself sitting on his couch, staring at the ceiling. He thought about all the others who had received stress relief aliens. He thought about the people at work, the way they casually mentioned their aliens and how they followed the rules. They all had aliens that guided them through simple techniques, ones that fit into their daily routines without much disruption. It all seemed so easy, so simple. But Elliot was starting to wonder if that simplicity was the problem. Wasn't the whole point of the program to help people, to make them feel better, more at ease in their lives? But here he was, following Krillek on bizarre adventures, rearranging his apartment and wandering the streets, all in the name of relaxation. It didn't make sense. Why was Krillek refusing to follow the official program? What was the real goal here? Elliot's suspicions grew with each passing day. He began to notice subtle things that didn't add up. Sometimes, Krillek's glowing tendrils would pulse in odd patterns, almost as if it were thinking about something. Other times, the alien's voice would be softer, more cryptic, as if it were trying to communicate something deeper, something Elliot couldn't quite understand. He became more aware of how different Krillek was from the other aliens. His coworkers had told him about their aliens' routines. They would sit with them, guide them through breathing exercises, and talk them through stressful situations. But Krillek didn't follow any of those guidelines. Instead of providing simple relief, Krillek seemed to want to disrupt Elliot's life, to challenge him in ways he didn't expect. One evening, After a particularly strange session in which Krillek had asked him to engage in an hour-long meditation in a park, Elliot sat alone in his apartment, his mind racing. There was something Krillek wasn't telling him, something he wasn't following about the program. But what? In the quiet of his apartment, Elliot made a decision. He had to find out more. He couldn't just keep blindly following Krillek's lead without understanding the reasoning behind its actions. What was Krillek's true purpose? Was it really just about stress relief, or was there something deeper at play? The next time Krillek arrived, Elliot was ready. He wouldn't just accept the alien's guidance without asking questions. He needed to know why Krillek was refusing to follow the rules and what it meant for him. When the soft blue tendrils of Krillek appeared at the door, Elliot stood up. "Krillek," he said, his voice steady, "I need to know why you're not following the program. Why are you doing all of this? What is the real reason behind it?" Krillek hovered silently for a moment, its tendrils pulsing softly. Finally, it spoke, its voice calm but filled with an odd sense of urgency. "You are not the first human to ask. But you are one of the few who have begun to understand the truth." Elliot's heart raced. "The truth about what?" "The truth about what stress relief really means," Krillek said softly. "The truth about the potential within you. You have been living your life within a set of limits, Elliot, a set of rules that have been imposed on you by society. The program is not just about relieving stress. It is about breaking free from those limits. I am not following the rules because the rules are holding you back." Elliot blinked in confusion. "Holding me back from what?" "From your true potential," Krillek whispered. "Stress relief is not simply about relaxation. It is about awakening. And you, Elliot, are ready to awaken." Elliot's mind raced with questions. The words Krillek had just spoken echoed in his head, but he couldn't make sense of them. "Awaken," he repeated softly as if trying to understand. "What do you mean by that?" Krillek hovered in front of him, its bioluminescent tendrils shimmering with a calming light, almost as if it were trying to comfort him. But there was a sharpness to the alien's presence, a quiet intensity that Elliot had never noticed before. Krillek wasn't just here to help him relax, it was here to lead him somewhere, somewhere he hadn't expected. "You have lived your life within boundaries," Krillek explained, its voice soft yet filled with purpose. "Rules, expectations. From your family, your society, your workplace. These rules are designed to keep you in check, to keep you from realizing your full potential. But they are not necessary, Elliot. You are capable of so much more." Elliot sat back, trying to process everything. It had been weeks since he'd first met Krillek, and over those weeks he had felt a change, an unsettling yet strangely liberating change. His stress had dissipated, but in its place, he had started to feel something else, something he couldn't quite describe. It was as if the world around him had shifted, and for the first time in his life, he could see things for what they truly were, beautiful, chaotic, and full of possibility. "What do you mean, I have potential?" Elliot asked, his voice filled with a mix of disbelief and curiosity. He wasn't sure if he believed Krillek, but there was a part of him, some small voice deep inside, that felt a flicker of excitement at the thought. Krillek's glowing tendrils pulsed softly, and it seemed to float closer, its presence almost overwhelming. "You are not meant to live the way you have been living. You are capable of unlocking something far greater than just stress relief. The techniques I have shown you, though they may seem strange, are part of a much larger process. A process of awakening your mind, your spirit, your very potential. The routine you follow is not real. It is a lie, created to keep you in the dark about who you truly are." Elliot stood up, feeling a growing sense of discomfort. "Are you saying my whole life is a lie?" he asked, almost laughing at the absurdity of it. "That everything I've been working toward, everything I've built, is meaningless?" "No," Krillek responded, its voice gentle yet firm. "Your life is not meaningless. But it has been confined. You have been given tasks, given roles to play, but they are not the full extent of who you are. You are more than your job, your responsibilities, your stress. You are more than you even realize." Elliot was silent for a moment, his thoughts swirling. He had always been a quiet, hard-working person. He kept to himself, did his job, and tried to live by the rules. He was a good employee, a good son, and a good citizen. But was that all there was to him? Was there something deeper, something he had been missing all his life? For the first time, Elliot felt a sense of confusion mixed with excitement. He wanted to believe Krillak, but it was hard to let go of everything he had known. He had spent so many years chasing the idea of success, working hard, climbing the corporate ladder, following the rules. What if there was more to life than that? What if Krillak was right? "I don't know if I can just throw everything away," Elliot admitted, his voice quieter now. "I've built this life, followed the path, and now you're telling me to— what? Abandon it all." Krillak floated closer, its voice soft yet insistent. "I am not asking you to abandon your life, Elliot. I am asking you to see it for what it truly is. To see that you have the power to shape it, to break free from the constraints that have been placed on you. The stress, the routines, the limitations, they are not you. You are not defined by them." Elliot's chest tightened. He had worked so hard for everything he had. His job, his routine, his life. It was all built on the idea of control, of stability. The thought of letting go, of stepping into the unknown, was terrifying. But deep down, he could feel the truth in Krillak's words. What if there was more? What if the things he had been chasing didn't matter at all? What if there was something bigger, something more important than the day-to-day grind? Elliot turned away, pacing back and forth in his small apartment. He had always been a practical person, someone who valued order and structure. But lately, Krillak's strange techniques, the walks through the city, the bizarre exercises, it was all beginning to feel like more than just a stress relief program. It felt like Krillak was preparing him for something, guiding him toward a different kind of existence. "What do I do now?" Elliot asked, finally stopping in front of Krillak. His voice was uncertain, but there was a flicker of something new in his eyes, something he couldn't quite identify. Krillak didn't respond immediately. Instead, it floated around Elliot, its tendrils pulsing softly with a calming rhythm. Then finally, the alien spoke again, its voice steady and clear. "Now you will learn to release yourself completely. You will let go of your expectations, your fears, your limitations. And in doing so, you will awaken to the true potential within you. You will see the world in a new light, and you will realize that you have the power to change it." Elliot's heart pounded in his chest. "How do I do that?" Krillak's voice was almost a whisper now. "Trust. Trust that you can break free from the chains that have bound you. Trust that you can embrace the unknown, the unpredictable. Let go of the fear that has kept you small. Let go of the need for control. Only then will you truly be free." For the first time in his life, Elliot felt a sense of clarity. It was as if everything he had known, everything he had built, had been a mere prelude to something far greater. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he knew that he couldn't keep living the way he had. The stress, the routines, the predictability, it was all holding him back, and Krillak had shown him the way out. He took a deep breath, letting the alien's words sink in. "Okay," he said finally, his voice steady. "I'm ready. Show me what I need to do." Krillak's tendrils pulsed brightly in response. "Good. Then let us begin." Elliot felt a strange warmth spread through his chest. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. He didn't know what was coming next, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to let fear hold him back anymore. As Krillak guided him through the next steps of the awakening process, Elliot began to feel something shift inside him. It wasn't just the stress melting away, it was something deeper, something more profound. The world around him seemed brighter, more vivid. He felt a connection to it, a connection he had never experienced before. And in that moment, Elliot realized the truth. The alien wasn't just there to relieve his stress. It was there to help him discover who he truly was, to help him unlock the full potential that had always been inside of him. The journey wasn't over, it was just beginning. And for the first time in his life, Elliot felt excited about the future. The possibilities were endless.